Thank you so much again for doing this.
Oh my God, I'm
Uh,
so excited to be here.
yeah. So our podcast is all about your journey in music and how you got to where you are today.
I love it.
So I did read, you are currently in New York, or you spent a lot of time in New York.
I
Not,
live in
not,
New
orig-
York.
not originally from there though, right?
No, I grew up in LA, born and raised in Pasadena,
Okay.
and I moved to New York about 5 years ago, October of 2015. Yeah.
Okay. So you spent most of your time in Southern California then.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just been the best of those two worlds.
Yeah, right. I mean, the East End, the biggest city on the East, biggest city on the West Coast.
Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're in San Diego. I don't know
Oh,
if you noticed from my rad hat that I've decided to wear today for some odd reason. But yeah, so we're born. My wife and I were both born and raised here in San Diego, so similar
I love
to
San Diego. Best
LA.
taco, best tacos.
Yeah, we're just that much closer to the border. I think that's why.
Yes.
We're like, yeah. So that's awesome. So tell me about growing up in Pasadena. How was that?
I mean, I loved it. I grew up in a really wonderful town where friends lived like two doors away from you, and it was so easy to see whoever you wanted whenever.
Mhm.
Um, I went to school in Miami, and when I graduated Miami, I moved back to LA, and it just it just wasn't my thing anymore. I wanted to change. I'd been there my whole life. I didn't know anything else. And on top of it, my bandmates that I had, met in college in Miami, they were all from New York. My songwriting partner, my producers, everyone was in New York. And so it was kind of a no-brainer of, are you going to stay in LA while everyone's in New York, or are you going to
Sure.
try and, start everything from the ground up again in terms of finding collaborators and whatnot? So
Mhm.
it just made sense to move to the East Coast. And to be honest, I love it here. I love the pace. It's a different kind of energy than I feel LA has. I mean, they both have their own energy, but I don't know. New York's is it's a little more cutthroat
I can see
and
that.
harsh,
Yeah.
which I actually really like.
Yeah, it's more straight to the point.
Exactly, exactly. There's no
Yeah.
beating around the bush.
Sure, sure. You said you went to school in Miami. Did you go to school for music?
I did.
Oh, okay.
I majored in songwriting, and it was one of the first schools that had a songwriting program, which was the primary reason I picked it, aside from
Oh,
the palm
wow.
trees. But
Sure. Well, okay. Well, I want to back up quite a bit then. Okay. So, how did you get into music originally? Growing up in Pasadena, like what took you to going to school for songwriting?
it was really just the way I was brought up. My father is from London, and he is the biggest Beatles and Rolling Stones fan you've ever met. So
Amazing.
that is basically all I grew up on. I didn't know any other music. And it was just something that we were always doing in the house. I mean, my sister and I would put on performances every single weekend. And um, I came to love performing more than anything else. Stuck with it all through grammar school and junior high and high school. And um, I didn't really know what else that I would do in college.
Hmm. What was the first instrument you picked up? You're talking about performing. Were you just singing, show tune type things?
It was a lot of singing. I used to do this show for my sister every morning while she would wait for her carpool pickup. It was called the Brenna Show,
Okay.
and it was a combination of we had some singing, some bad joke telling, we had some dancing in there, and later, I think when I was 12, I was allowed to start taking piano lessons.
Okay.
And my parents had a pretty strict rule about vocal lessons as well. So those weren't allowed to start until I was 15.
Interesting.
Um,
What was just because they didn't think you'd be up for pursuing it if you weren't old
I,
enough or
th- I
something?
think they were concerned that maybe my like vocal cords hadn't developed enough and weren't mature
Ah,
enough to start being trained. I don't
sure.
really know the reasoning. My parents were pretty strict. I had a no dating until age 13 rule as well. So
Okay. Did it work? Did the rule work?
did the rule work? There are a lot of secrets kept from parents over the years.
Like most 13-year-olds, I'm sure.
Right, exactly.
Right on. Okay, so at 15, so you get piano lessons at 12, and then did you wait to 15 to get the vocal lessons?
I did. I was really into piano.
Okay.
I didn't think that I actually wanted to do singing for a while because I was so obsessed with the piano. It was everything that I breathed and ate and slept.
Mhm.
And then I kind of started fooling around with songwriting one day, and it just kind of, I don't know, lit a fire in me and made me change my mind. And I was so involved in extracurriculars at school, like choir and the musical theater plays that they would put on and whatnot. And
Mhm.
so the singing really did become part of my day to day again, and it was just something that I had to pursue, or I would combust and go crazy.
Sure, yeah. And that was even before you took the vocal lessons then.
Right.
Wow.
There was a lot of begging. There was a lot of groveling.
Okay. When did you write your first song, and tell me about the moment when you're like, This is what I need to be doing."
I mean, to be honest, there were really terrible songs written at like 5 or 6. My first song was about chicken and how it's great. Um, and after that, I kind of stopped. I didn't really discover it again until my first crush decided he didn't like me in the 6th grade.
Uh,
Wrote a Kelly Clarkson ripoff song, and then it really became something that I was pursuing again come college, and that's when I dove into it, head on.
okay. Were you performing, like, were you writing songs and performing them around your hometown before going to school for it?
I had dabbled a little bit on, the Hollywood Strip, kind of just stripped down me and the keyboard. But I mean, I was 15 and 16. So these are shows where,
Yeah.
I'm technically not allowed to be playing there unless there's, parents in the room and whatnot. So it was um a different experience. And once I went to college and found these incredible musicians that I could play with and have, a band, that's when
Mhm.
I was like, oh, wow, this is so different playing with a band than just playing by yourself. I want to
Sure.
do this for the rest of my life.
Okay, so that's where it really started then when she got
Yeah.
to college.
Hmm.
When to get into the school in Miami, did you like, to get into their songwriting school, did you have to submit work that you had previously done? Or was it
Yeah.
kinda just
It was there was a combination of, like, sending some of the songs that you had written, and then also sending some covers that they had required. So it was a little bit of both.
Oh, okay. Do you remember the covers that they had you do?
Oh, I did Mr. Postman. Please, Mr. Postman. That was one of the
Okay,
covers,
that's a
and
good one.
um, I'm blanking on the other one, but that one is top of mind.
Okay, for sure, please, Mr. Postman.
Yes.
Okay. So you're going to school, you're in Miami, and this is when you start meeting people and collaborating with other artists, correct? And then what
Yes.
happens there? And this is when you start a band. Like, what was before putting out records under B.Miles? Like, tell me the journey from college.
I mean, when I arrived there, I was, a lost chicken. I didn't know what I was doing. And I was in this really small program. It was about 5 of us. And there was this dude named Eric Nizgretsky.
Okay.
And there was a open mic night the first night that we arrived on campus. And they had, all the new students get up and, play an original song. And
Was that
Eric,
terrifying?
it was
That must have
terrifying. It was
okay.
absolutely
So it's
terrifying.
day one. Wait, well, yeah, real quick. So it's day one. You get to school and they're like, okay, everybody, you're gonna get on the stage and play a song of your
Yep.
own in front of
Yep.
everybody.
in front of,
Oh my
all the
gosh.
older classmates and whatnot, all of the seniors. It was really scary.
Oh my
And
gosh. Okay.
this guy Eric got up and played, and he played this awesome song. And I was like, I don't know who that guy is, but we're becoming friends. And so I went up to him after, and I think I said something along the lines of, I liked your song. He asked me to Subway. We, had a very nice conversation at Subway on campus. And then we just kind of hit it off. I mean, we had every single class together.
Oh
And
wow. That kind of
because of
worked
that,
out.
it totally worked out. We lived a floor apart on the dorms. Um, and we ate every meal together. It was like the fates aligning and saying, here you go. This is your songwriting partner.
Sure.
Um, and once, I mean, Eric and I worked on finding a sound for B.Miles for quite a long time. I would say it took us like, I don't know, a year and a half to 2 years of trial and error of seeing, what we really wanted to do with the project.
Hmm.
And I believe like junior, senior year is kind of when we really solidified what we wanted to do. The first B.Miles release, I think, came out my junior year of college. Um, and that's when we started, putting together a band and playing shows throughout Miami. Um, and it was just the most amazing feeling in the world. And it was
Now, was that
lots.
2015? Was that the first release you guys did or no?
First, yeah, that was the first release.
Okay.
And I don't know. I mean, when you find out something that you love and it just makes sense, I mean, it's hard to let go of.
Sure. And I mean, I was gonna say that that album really, made a mark for you. Especially, I mean, look at the song "Salt." How did
Yeah.
do you know the story behind? Like, tell me the story behind that. And so you put the song out in 2015. How quickly did that start getting traction?
It was, it's still really boggling to me now. I remember I was just kind of sitting at home, and this acquaintance of mine, I mean, I'd graduated college in 2015. This acquaintance of mine sent me a message and said, congratulations. And this was like, I'd say a month after the songs had come out. I
Hmm.
said, okay, thanks. And he's like, do you know? So what do you mean, do I know? And
uh,
he's like, your song is on New Music Friday. And I was like, what? And so I quickly go to Spotify, see that Salt is on New Music Friday. And it was this like, oh shit moment.
right.
And from there, it just, I don't know what happened. It just kind of took on a life of its own. I mean, next thing I knew, it was the theme song of Cable Girls. We were having like people all over the world reaching out, um asking about Salt and Cable Girls. And it was crazy. I still really don't understand how it happened, to be honest.
You just know it ended up on New Music Friday. And from there,
Exactly.
so somebody had found it, somebody in the Spotify playlist world found it and added it. And you said that was like a month after releasing the album or the songs.
Right, right. It was just really bizarre.
So now are you getting like you obviously it made it onto a Netflix show. You said you're getting a lot of people contacting you, like were record labels calling you and seeing what you're like what happened next from the success of the song?
It was crazy. There were a lot of phone calls. And to be honest, I mean, I was I don't know, 22. I didn't really understand like how to process anything.
I was
It
gonna ask
was
you, is
it
that kind
was
of overwhelming feeling? I mean, did you have management? Like, how were you able to field all these people? Like, hey, 20 million streams, let's you're gonna be a star. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they would be coming at you. I could imagine it'd be overwhelming.
it was yeah, it was crazy overwhelming. And I didn't I just didn't know what to do. I mean, you don't know who to trust in those situations. You don't know what's real, what's fake.
Hmm.
And luckily, Eric, my songwriting partner, who also manages me. I mean, he's lived in New York his entire life. He knows New York like the back of his hand, and he is the quintessential New Yorker.
Okay.
So he was able to just kind of, take the lead on all of that stuff, which I'm so grateful for, because I felt like this lost fawn, like trying to
Sure.
figure out what to do.
Yeah, you put a song out and then it's a month in, it's going crazy, and now all these people are just like, hey, attack you. I can't even fathom what that would be like.
It was wild. I mean, I think the weirdest part was right when Salt kind of took off was right when I decided to move from LA to New York. And I moved pretty quickly. I didn't really plan anything. It was kind of just, I miss my bandmates. I miss my songwriting partner. I don't want to be in LA. I'm just going to go.
Mhm.
And so I got there, and while, Salt was this thing, trying to figure out how to become an adult. How do you pay rent? How do you find a job? Like, how do you do things? And so it was a pretty hectic time, I would say. And
Mhm.
that time is when I was writing this album.
Oh, interesting.
And so in the album, there's, a lot of reoccurring themes of, panic, insecurity. I'm getting older. What do I do? How do I adult?
Mhm.
Um, all, all the challenging things of growing up.
Yeah. I love the song title Brina at some 9to5.com.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That was, when I moved to New York, I thought that it would kind of just be, oh, I just get to play shows all the time. All we
Mhm.
get to do is record music and play shows. And, it's a hard reality when you realize you need to make money too, and you have to be able to afford rent.
Mhm.
Um, and so I ended up in, a very buttoned up 9 to 5 kind of workplace. And it was really difficult because I felt like this 9 to 5 life was taking over the other side of my life, and it was becoming the main focus of everything,
Mhm.
which is what really wrote this album, is, the double life of my performing persona of B.Miles and this regular Brenna who
Mhm.
has to make ends meet and pay bills.
Sure. Yeah. That's an interesting way to look at it. Yeah, because you have your double life. You've got your 9 to 5, got to be up working, yeah, get the bills paid, all that, and then there's I want to go out and live this dream lifestyle as far as like performing and writing music and all that.
Right.
Um, do you feel like with like when Salt started happening and you made that decision to move to New York, uh, did that help, kind of launch your career a bit more musically? Like when you got to New York, were you able to, with that song success, get into bigger, rooms or get on tours, or what kind of fell with that?
I think the Salt success definitely helped in terms of booking bigger rooms. You know, it's my first show in New York was at Mercury Lounge, and it's still one of my favorite venues to perform at. And um, we started performing in the Lower East Side and Brooklyn venues pretty frequently. I'd say we had a show maybe once or twice a month.
Oh wow.
It was just a regular thing that we would always do because it was something that myself and my bandmates loved to do, was performing. And we got pretty lucky with some of the venues we were able to perform at, and the crowds. I mean, I think the wildest part was there was one night I was performing at Bowery Ballroom, and I remember looking in the crowd, and I saw strangers singing the lyrics, and it was this moment of what? Like, who are these people? I don't know who they are. They know the lyrics.
Yeah.
It was really humbling and kind of a, I don't know, oh shit moment.
Hmm. Yeah. Wow, that's really amazing. I can't even, yeah, to see people in the audience singing back your lyrics. I'm sure that's quite a feeling.
Yeah, no, it was crazy, and I kept B.Miles a secret for a very long time at work. I was I don't know if I was scared that I would get fired or what, even though it didn't involve my job whatsoever and was,
Uh-huh.
after the hours and whatnot. But word broke out eventually, and
Okay.
it was cool because I would start seeing some of my coworkers in the audience and being like, "Is that who I think it is?"
Oh, that's awesome. So they
And it's
started going and supporting you.
yeah, it turned out to be just a really, really heartwarming experience in the end. I wish we could still perform. I'm dying for everything to go
Sure.
back to normal, as I'm sure everyone is.
Yeah.
Um, but w- making the best of it, we were able to do the virtual album release show, which
Cool. I was gonna ask how you've been adapting to the COVID with a new record coming out. So you did a live stream release?
yeah, we the virtual aspect of what has happened with the pandemic has actually been really positive, I think, because normally if everything was normal, the album release show probably would have, been in New York. And
Mhm.
with this virtual show, we were able to perform for people all over the world, which, normally wouldn't be able to fly to New York for a show. And
Mhm.
and that was really special. And because of it, I mean, I've gotten a lot of fan outreach. We've had a lot of video chats with people, in Asia and Europe. And I talked to a gal in Australia last week, and it's been I'm enjoying the virtual aspect because it's allowing me to, just talk with people I normally wouldn't be able to.
Mhm. Mhm. With the live stream, was it like a full band performance or was it just you playing?
Oh, full band, full band. We wanted to do the whole shebang of having a live show, and it worked out really well. We rented a warehouse. We had, full sound, full lights, full camera crew. And it really felt like a live show,
Uh-huh.
just minus the audience part.
Yeah. That's cool. Were you able to like comment back to people, like see comments happening in real time, or was it kind of distracting with trying to perform and
No, so
do two things at once?
we recorded the show in one shot, so
Oh,
that
got
we
you.
could upload it in time and make sure that everyone would
Sure.
be able to hear it. The fun part is there was an interactive chat during the show, so I could talk to people while they were watching the show, which was really fun.
That is really cool. That is really cool. Were you like when did your was the record recorded all and everything packaged ready to go prior to the world shutting down, or was this something that you were able to kind of build on during the quarantine, or was it something kind of stopped you in your tracks?
The album was fully ready to go. And to be honest, I mean, when in March, once the pandemic hit and nobody really knew what was going on, I wanted to push the album to 2021.
Hmm.
And I was getting so much fan outreach asking for new music. It had already been like 3 years since new music had been released, and I was like, you know what? No, I can't wait. We have to release this pandemic, no pandemic. Nobody knows what's happening, and I'm really happy that I didn't delay it any further because, the feedback and the outreach that I've been receiving it's made it all worth it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Brina, for chatting with me today. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, of course. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I do have one more question. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Any advice? I mean, just keep grinding, man. Do not get discouraged. It's hard. I know it's hard to keep grinding, especially when how everyone has a million things going on in their lives. But I think that continuing to push yourself and get out those feelings in music, that are sometimes hard to articulate in other ways, it's it makes you feel a whole lot better.